Hi, everyone. We are so excited for this conversation today. We will be speaking about online distant learning for military families. Serving my fellow military homeschooling families is such an honor and a privilege. Thanks so much for joining us. Would you please be willing to go ahead and share this live right now in your homeschooling community so we can expand our reach? When you are coming in, please let us know where you are joining from. This is our seventh military Facebook Live. And my name is Natalie Mack, and I wear a dual hat. I'm the HSLDA outreach coordinator for the military, and I'm also a high school educational consultant. So, as I mentioned, I'm also a retired Navy chaplain's wife and a homeschooling mom of five. Four have graduated, so I give myself a pat on the back. They've gone on to college and graduate school, and I have a current ninth grader. So, to all my fellow military homeschooling parents and others joining us on Facebook, we're so glad that you are here. Will you please let us know in the comments where you're joining from? Also, be sure to put any questions you have in the comments, and we'll save time to go over those a bit later. This time of the year is planning time for many homeschoolers. Conventions and conferences, whether in person or virtual, they're happening in the next few months. For those of us who are constantly on the move, the military families, the missionary families, the State Department families, all of those, Foreign Service, online learning can be a lifesaver. Online or distant learning is easily packed up for moves all over the world. There are several options for online learning. And who better to discuss the advantages of online learning than our two guests, Sabrina Riley, a fellow milspouse home educator with a high schooler enrolled in the HSLDA Online Academy, and Monica Krason from HSLDA Online Academy. Sabrina, thanks for being our guest once again. Will you share a little bit about yourself, your family, and how long you have been homeschooling? And Monica, please let our audience know your position at the Academy. Sabrina?
Well, thank you so much for inviting me again. Um, for those who don't know me, I'm a mom of two now teen boys. As of last Friday, I have a second teenager in my
Wow.
house. He still feels like my little boy, though. I'm not quite wrapped my mind around that.
Exactly.
Um, so, yeah, my oldest is 15, and he's a ninth grader this year. My new 13-year-old, I don't think a grade level really applies to him right now. We're kind of all over the place with him, but I'm hoping maybe next year's a combined seventh, eighth year. I think he's going to go into ninth
You
grade
think, oh,
a little bit early, even though he started school a little bit later.
gotcha.
Um, our family has been homeschooling since January of 2017. And my husband is active guard reserve. For people who know what AGR is, it means he's active duty, although he's in the National Guard. And when our boys were young, my husband was not active duty. He was doing some guard reserve, um, tours of duty in different places. In between, he was trying to have a civilian career that never got off the ground. And so it was very unstable. So my position as a library director in a college with continuous appointment was our stability. So I couldn't be a stay-at-home mom then. Um, my boys did daycare, preschool. They were enrolled in a private school for the first few years. My oldest was in the middle of fourth grade when we made the switch. My youngest was in the middle of first grade when we made the switch. And so I kind of had given up, like, I'll never get to be a stay-at-home mom. I've lost that time with my kids. And then when my
Mm,
husband had the opportunity to get into a position that looked like he could move into the AGR program, I
mhm.
started to have this dream of maybe I can still be a stay-at-home mom. It's not going to be what it looked like traditionally. My boys are
Right.
going to be older, but maybe I can get to do this. And God really blessed and put all the pieces together to make it happen. So now not only am I teaching them here at home, I'm heavily involved, of course, with Natalie and our local Belleville home educators, and other things at church. And then I'm also working as an independent information professional consultant. So I'm doing a lot of writing, editing, research, both for myself and other people on the side. So really busy household here.
Right, exactly. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, Sabrina. Monica, please.
Yeah, hi everyone. So excited to be here with you today. I work over at the HSLDA Online Academy for their marketing and communication. So that means events like this, getting to talk to great homeschooling families about kind of how you can integrate online education into your courses, the benefits of it, how it can enhance your homeschool, and specifically, obviously, about the Academy's program and kind of our approach to online learning, which is distinctive in certain ways from other programs.
That is great. That is great. Thank you so much for being with us. Definitely. So, I see we have quite a bit of viewers coming in. So, I just want to acknowledge them real quickly, and we're going to keep going in a minute. So, I see Lily Perez, a dear friend from North Carolina. Hi, Lily. And Angie's from Fort Benning. Hey. Michelle Lambert, North Carolina. We have someone from my home state of Maryland, Fort Riley, Kansas. Great. And we have Dr. Douglas Pietersma. Thank you so much for popping in. I appreciate it, definitely. So, I have prepared a series of questions to ask you both. So, I want our viewers to know more about the online learning process and how it can be of great benefit to homeschooling families, particularly, like I mentioned earlier, our military, State Department, and missionary families. Our HSLDA high school educational consultants, of which I am one, are often asked about online learning providers and how to find an online AP course as well. So, one of our member benefits is access to consulting services and free transcript reviews. So, Sabrina, please share a little bit more about how you decided to enroll your son in online learning and were you searching for a specific class?
Yeah, we were. I'm a hands-on teacher in our school, so I'm involved with my son's learning. With my background in history and library science, a college instructor, I feel pretty confident with things like history and language arts and Bible. My boys are doing really well with the curriculum we've chosen for science and math, even though those aren't my areas. But
Yeah.
they're working with the books and with input from mom and dad, kind of coaching on the side, and that's working well. But when it came to the foreign language requirements, I'm like, no, that's where I stop. And my son chose German, even though we encouraged, like Spanish should be more useful.
Yeah.
But I was okay with him choosing German because even though I never became proficient in the language, I actually studied German for 3 years.
Oh, how awesome. Yes.
But, that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
through this process, and I'll talk a little bit more about this later, I've kind of been learning again alongside him through
Mhm.
this, which has been fun. So then we started looking at the options for doing it online, and there are a lot of pretty pricey options out there.
Yes.
And of course, my husband was really hopeful that the DoD virtual school would come through for us.
Yes.
And I know that's on the list of resources you plan to share later, but I just
Yeah.
wanted to mention that here that they are running a pilot program now through the DoD virtual school for AP classes and language and a few other classes for high school students.
Mhm.
But last year, the program didn't get approved until like August, like right about the school
Mm.
was starting, which is way too late.
Mhm.
We have friends who teach for that who said that they were really disappointed with the response. And I said, well, you needed approval last spring if you wanted a good response.
Yes.
They listened, and the registration for next school year is already open. So that was good. But
Okay.
meantime, we decided to go with HDL because of the member discount, and also through the HEAV conference, I got a second discount. I was able to use both of them. So I really, really appreciated that. That made it possible for us. And my other options besides that being late, I was a little bit leery of the virtual school because it's more of that public school environment. I really
Mhm.
like the HSLDA Academy. They're really homeschool oriented. I felt like if I couldn't teach my children myself, they were going to understand. They're going to understand us and how we operate, understand our need for flexibility in the schedule. We were already planning a 2-week road trip in the fall, and I was like, oh, great. How are we going to fit someone else's school schedule and still
Mhm.
do the travel that we like to do and field trips that come up? So I really appreciated that HSLDA was sensitive to that, the arrangements could be made that the classes are recorded so my son could listen to them at a different time if needed,
That's
and
awesome.
accommodations like that.
That is so awesome. I want to say, as viewers are coming in, please go ahead and let us know where you are watching from. And if you have any questions, please begin to put them in the comments. We will take time at the end to look over and try to answer as many as we can. Monica, can you go ahead and share a little bit about the mission of the HSLDA Online Academy? How many students are enrolled, that type of thing?
Yeah, for sure. And what Sabrina just explained, that's a reason a lot of our moms come to us. It's because at this stage they either don't feel comfortable teaching one subject, or sometimes they come to us because they just want their student to experience what it's like to learn from someone else while simultaneously keeping that homeschooling environment. They don't feel comfortable enrolling their kid in a private or a public school just part-time to take a class. So you kind of get that benefit with us.
Right.
And all of the things kind of Sabrina just sort of explained, you still have that flexibility. We feel very strongly about there being a live class component. But we understand that there are road trips and there are mission trip opportunities and things like that. So we try to make it so there are these recorded, every session is recorded. So our teachers really do work with families to kind of make that happen. And we at the moment have over 2,000 students enrolled for this school year. And that's, from, most, if not all, US states and even internationally. Because again, even though we really strongly encourage you to attend live, because of the recorded component, you can still, no matter what time zone you're in, especially if you're a military family. I know this is especially a struggle for our military families that enroll with us. You might be stationed in Hawaii or something like
Right.
that. So
Or Germany or right, any place,
exactly.
right?
So there's no way that you could come at 1 p.m. Eastern time. So
Yes.
sometimes families do, take it and kind of come at whatever time, but often they just take the class and then the teacher is still accessible via email. So the student isn't totally left off because they don't see the teacher live. You can reach them out via email or through the learning management system that we have. So it really makes it possible for you to still use this resource, because it's very important to us for it to be a way to support homeschooling families no matter where they are. That's really how we see ourselves. We're kind of more like an online co-op than maybe the traditional online school you're thinking of. Most families take a couple classes with us as a way to kind of, use us for where they need, and you can kind of pick and choose. And that's kind of the great thing about homeschooling, while simultaneously getting a lot of those benefits, all the same benefits you would from a regular school, in the sense of it's a teacher, someone else does the grading, parents are very encouraged to be involved. But it is an opportunity to kind of just build in a new resource into your homeschooling program, no matter where you are in the world.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I was laughing to myself when you mentioned about military families. And although my husband's retired, he just retired December 1. So we've lived all over the world. And so I had posted and shared this event, several military homeschooling groups, one of which was over in Okinawa. And so one of the responses from a member of the group was at 2 a.m. and and I laughed because I had put in the caption, join me live. And I was sharing it and I wasn't thinking, okay, oh my gosh, okay, time. So when she responded 2 a.m., I started laughing and I said, oh, there will be a replay. You can catch the replay. And she said, I do get up and sometime and catch things at odd hours, but I said, no, I think you could just wait, catch the replay. So it's true military life. We're always on the move. So as you all are coming in, continue to let me know where you're watching from and post any questions that you have. I see one from Casey. We'll get to those later, but go ahead and post them. So I appreciate Sabrina being here, and Monica. Monica just shared all of the incredible offerings and opportunities with the online academy. And our online academy is one option that is really, that's what we are presenting and talking about right now. But I also want to emphasize there are so many other online options available. And so I have the 4 students that I mentioned that have finished high school and they've gone on to college and to graduate school. And so with those four, our family discovered lots of options for online learning. And they were really very helpful for a variety of reasons for each child. Our oldest son and our youngest daughter were the ones who were in high school when we were last stationed overseas in southern Italy, in Naples. So at that point, my oldest son, he wanted to take a coding class. So we decided, let's look online. And that's what we found, the Potter School. And so I think we'll be posting some resources in the comments for our viewers. If you're not familiar with the Potter School, that was a great option. It still is. My youngest daughter needed to take an AP English language course, and so we discovered Pennsylvania homeschoolers. And so that was great for that particular period in time. Now, another reason also for another son was we were back in the States, but my son wanted to take a classical literature course. Well, actually, me, the homeschooling mom, wanted him to take a classical literature course. He didn't raise his hand and say, Mom, find me a classical literature course. Oh, so, and so, but I had a lot of responsibilities going on, a lot of things happening, and limited time to keep up with the readings. I just knew I wasn't going to make it through Beowulf. I just needed some assistance. And that's when I discovered for him, Wasco literature. And basically, they started with a writing program called Write at Home. And they now have a literature. So we've used them for a couple of years. So, and then in a little bit, I'll share a few more resources. Some of them are secular options as well as no cost options. So we'll go here back to our guests. I appreciate you all. Sabrina, so how has the online learning journey worked for your family? Tell us how that has gone for our viewers who are thinking about it.
Well, it's been an adjustment for sure. For the most part, I've just blocked out Tuesdays. That was the day that my son's class meets for the one day a week. I think I don't know about the other language classes, but for the German classes, they're meeting on Mondays or Tuesdays.
Okay.
And I think there were two sections of each, German 1 and German 2 this year, and it looks like that's the direction they're going next year as well. We signed up late, so there were already two sections of each class then. I just recently signed him up for German 2 for next year.
Awesome.
And I noticed at the beginning they only had one section open, and now they've opened a second section as that's filled. So just keep that in mind that the schedule may look a little bit different. And the nice thing is that even though I signed him up for that first section, when the second section opened, they offered us the opportunity to switch times if we wanted to, which I appreciated.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So unless something really important comes up that we can't schedule around the class, I am trying to schedule around the class so that he doesn't miss any more than he absolutely has to. So the big time that he missed classes was during our travel time last October when we were in New England he missed, I think, 2 class periods with that. So we just made sure that he had time when we were at the hotel or the Airbnb in the evening, that he could get his assignments done, that he could listen to the recording. So all he really missed was that recording time, or that actual live class time during the day on Tuesday. So there is a deadline of basically midnight Saturday night every week to get everything done. So he still has had to learn some time management skills to get everything done. We've encouraged him to review his vocabulary every day, to kind of space out the assignments throughout the week. And there's been quite a few number of weeks that he is scrambling even Saturday night to get stuff done.
Yeah. Yes.
Before the deadline. And usually Saturday night is fun family time for our group, for our family. And it's like, you sure your German's not done? Like, you can't watch anything. You can't do anything. So
right. But it's great. It's great time management.
Yeah.
Training and learning, right? For I always say we're raising adults. So there, in many cases, our students are headed to college. Not everybody. Some are headed to other opportunities. Those are all awesome as well. But for those who are headed to another academic environment, this is great, right? And even not a job. just if you're going into the workforce, so definitely the military, because 15 minutes early is on time. So
Yeah. Well, and the interaction with other people, having a different teacher,
yes.
strange kids he hasn't met before, that's been really good for him. I mean, he was so nervous the first day, and it's just online, and it's like he doesn't even see anyone because it's not even video. I mean, she has the kids muted unless she's asking them to speak. You don't even, I don't think there's even images of other kids in the course management system. It's just the teacher. And so there's a lot of anonymity and kind of, you're hidden, but the kids are texting each other on the little chat in the presentation software. They're chatting with each other through the whole thing. And I'll hear him in there laughing. And so after class, I'm like, what are you laughing about? Well, it's the kids talking to each other about what's going on. Like the teacher, I don't even think she's reading it.
Yes.
So they have their little jokes and their little, teen snide remarks going.
Yes. And and that happens whether it's in an online learning environment or not, and it's really bonding because that means that they feel comfortable with each other. It has nothing, it doesn't take away from the academics or the quality of what they're learning or the instruction. That's really a bonding time for students to feel comfortable with each other, that in the chat, that they are interacting. So
yeah,
that is awesome. So, as I mentioned earlier, one of my responsibilities as an educational consultant is to assist our members with online learning opportunities. There's an abundance, as we have been talking about, and I mentioned some earlier from our own journey. And online learning is not just for high schoolers, but there are options for elementary and middle school as well. So, Monica, tell us a little bit about some of the classes that are offered, and do you also offer AP courses? Because that's a common search for homeschoolers as our children become high schoolers, and we are interested in those higher level classes like that. Can you tell us a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. So we offer 45 classes, individual classes, with multiple sections within there, as Sabrina mentioned, with German. And they generally, most of our classes are for high schoolers at this point. We have started to branch out more into middle school because we've gotten some feedback that this is something that people are looking for. So we have a new middle school writing class, a creative writing class for 6th and 7th grade, that we're really excited that will be starting this fall for the first time, which is really cool. But we basically offer most of what you need for cores throughout high school. So we have, 4 sections of English, or four years of English with multiple sections, science, math, whatever it is you feel like you could need, along with additional electives. So like computer skills or computer science, like your son took, Natalie, or a coding class. Yeah. So like that kind of a thing. We offer one of those, 1 semester versus 2 semester. Most of our electives are 1 semester classes, whereas most of our core classes are a year.
Right.
And then for AP, we offer 9 AP classes. So
awesome.
that goes from, so there's a lot. So that's how we got started, actually. Initially, our history was we were trying to offer AP classes to the homeschooling community, because if you don't know this, AP, even if you don't take the exam, which is a great way to earn college credit in high school, if you're going to college admission officers love to see AP classes on transcripts. So even if you just take the class, and because again, as a military family, maybe your station not going to be able to get back here to take the AP exam at this moment. They're not online. You have to go to a physical school to take them. But if you're, in Hawaii or Germany, there still can be a benefit to taking those AP courses. So it's definitely something to consider. And so we have AP English, we have AP calculus. You can go on our website, hslda.org/academy, to see the whole list. But yeah, we really are really passionate about making sure that those resources are available to the homeschooling community if they want them. And so that's why we kind of started and then branched out into the other high school classes, just because there was a need. Again, there were families who were looking for these things, people like Sabrina, who wanted, a German class, and they couldn't take it, or didn't feel like they could teach it themselves, and they weren't able, being a military family, for instance, you couldn't find somewhere to go to. So we offer that so that there are ways to enhance your homeschool.
That's awesome. I was just thinking about what you mentioned about sometimes depending upon where a military family may be stationed, there may be difficulty in trying to register for that exam. And
Mhm.
there are remote duty locations that
Okay.
families are assigned to where it's a challenge. I mentioned earlier our youngest daughter taking the AP English language, and we were overseas in Italy, where we were in Naples. Department of Defense has schools on the
Mhm.
installation, so we were able to coordinate for her to sit and
Mhm.
take it at the Naples High School. So sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. So that's a great point, that for those of our families who are looking for those higher level courses, and your student is considering applying to college, that's one of the things that we in the educational consultants area is we mentioned that this may be options to consider.
Mhm.
And like you said, that basically, even if you don't sit for the exam, the benefit of being able to put an
Mhm.
AP course on your student's transcript is a really great
Mhm.
benefit. That in honors courses, they really speak to a higher level of learning. Um, I will say a few things for our viewers. In order for a class to be titled AP, example for the Academy, they have gone through a process to get those courses pre approved by the College Board. Homeschooling parents have actually gone through that process independently and
Mhm.
submitted the paperwork to get approved. But it is a process. So just understand that you cannot put AP on your student's transcript unless it is a pre-approved by the College Board AP course. So if your student takes something that's close to AP, or you design something similar following, another syllabus, but they're not actually in an official approved AP, then you can't put that on their transcript. But a student doesn't have to take the AP class, even though we're talking about online learning. A student doesn't have to take the AP class in order to sit for an AP exam. They just need to make sure they're prepared, because
Mhm.
they are challenging exams, and you want to make sure that if you sit for the exam, you're well prepared.
Mhm.
So I mentioned earlier, I think they have been put in the chat there. Pennsylvania Homeschool is a Potter School, and another option was listed as well, which is a great free option. It's edX, and it's linked there for AP learning as well. So I was thinking, Sabrina, you were talking about some of your journey and your son's journey with that online, and so I was just in Alaska last week. Wow. Yeah. Last week, speaking for AFIA at the convention there. And so one of the workshops I was presenting was Essential Skills for Successful Teens. It was packed with parents. It was great. And it was interesting because there were lots of high schoolers there too, sitting and listening. And so I didn't know if they voluntarily decided, oh, I want to attend that and hear about these essential skills for me to be successful, or did mom or dad say you need to be sitting in this class paying attention? It probably was a combination of both. But in that workshop, I discussed the importance of establishing a study location for your teen, making sure that they have the necessary equipment for online learning. So can you share a little bit about how you navigated that, and what does that look like for your family?
Well, that's an ongoing conversation,
Yeah.
because my son's favorite go-to space is his
Yes.
bed,
Okay.
um,
Okay.
which is to me isn't quite as bad as that may sound. We just for a little background, we have a very tiny house,
Hmm.
and
Military
we
housing. Sometime you get
yeah, and
you
I
don't
know
have
a
a
lot
lot
of
of
military
choices,
families
folks.
are in tiny houses, considering what we are trying to do. We don't have the tiniest house, but there's a lot of living going on here. Um, so to maximize space, my boys have lofts in their rooms so that they have all their floor space, and the lofts have beautiful, huge desks built in underneath them. But those desks are not for study because they're loaded down with Legos and all their creations.
Legos
And
are
so
important, Sabrina. They
I
come before
know, I
any
know.
type of online learning.
So we have one other room that's my office, our classroom, my craft room, like, and it's packed. but we have desk in there for the boys. But that's kind of our morning space where we meet as a family, and we do Bible history and some literature, language, arts stuff together as a family each morning in that space. And then when that time is done, then it's independent work. And because some of the challenges with my younger son, I still continue working in there with him on some stuff. And then my older one goes off and does his thing. And if I'm not paying attention, before I know it, he's up in that loft, his sleeping space, doing his schoolwork.
Yes.
But that really bothers Dad. So lots of conversations. So I think they have reached a compromise right now that Asher's being challenged to stay out of bed all day long.
Yes.
That might mean that when it comes to German, he's lounging on my bed with his laptop, or he has a Chromebook actually, and his headset.
Yeah. But he's learning. He's learning. He has his Chromebook and his headset, and he's listening during his German class.
Yeah, so. Yeah. And hopefully he has a notebook taking notes, but but that underscores how flexible this is, because it is an online virtual learning environment. It's a web-based course management system. So really all a student needs is a computer, and that can be either a desktop or a laptop. I haven't tried it on a tablet, so maybe Monica can speak to that if it would work on a mobile app environment. I'm not sure about that. And we did get him a headset. The teacher did require an actual headset with a microphone, something similar to what Natalie is wearing, just because it gives more clarity to the sound for the classroom and online classroom environment. So yeah, it's pretty easy. We just have a few times needed to remind him, like, are all your devices charged so you're ready before class and don't have to have anything plugged in.
Right.
And so that part has worked really well.
Okay.
And
good.
Yeah.
Good. That's that part of that essential skill. Remember to plug in your devices, right? So they can
especially in this age.
I know. Can you believe it? Like, oh my, it's not charged. Like what?
Yeah. I wanted to talk about the textbook as well.
Okay, sure. Go ahead.
A little bit of a journey there. So I can't speak to other classes. Monica can do that. But for German, it is an ebook textbook, which has pluses and minuses. The pluses is that it has multimedia built into it. So students click on a link and they've got audio recording there. They can hear the language and pronunciations and everything, which, oh man, when I was in high school, college, I would have loved a textbook like that.
Yeah.
But it also has some disadvantages. So there's workbooks and the textbook. The workbook is supposed to be written work, but it's not an interactive workbook where you can type in your answers on the book. Students have to type in the answers separately. So that was a learning curve with my son, to teach him to write out the workbook exercises and do all of that before he goes to the course management system and types in his answers.
Gotcha. Right.
Another area was typing his answers, and then proofread your work before you submit, because he's missed points because he just plain didn't proofread, couldn't read his own handwriting, to be honest.
Yeah. Yes.
So little things like that. Another thing I wish we had started from the very beginning that was really helpful when we started it partway through is printing out the study pages that needed to be studied, like the vocabulary list.
Okay.
And there are studies for this. I'm going back to my days as college librarian. There are studies that show ebooks are really good when you're reading cover to cover on a book, like a storybook. But when you need to study or research in a book and you're flipping back and forth, ebooks are not as effective for that kind of learning. And so that's why printing out some of these pages really is necessary.
Right.
And I wish that I had been thinking about that from day one. It really would have helped.
But that's good. I'm glad that you mentioned that, because that is something that maybe other parents probably would not have thought of as well. So I think that's great. So I wanted to make sure any viewers that are just joining us, please just go ahead and comment where you are joining us from and any questions that you have, because we'll go back and answer those at the end. And so, Monica, are the classes live classes or asynchronous classes? Because with online learning, I know you can get those two options. And what's the benefit to a live class?
Yeah, so all of our classes are live classes.
Mhm.
The asynchronous classes can have like a lot of different great benefits, but we feel that students learn the very best when there is a live component.
Mhm.
And there's also the live class meets once a week. So there's a couple of our classes that meet twice a week for 45 minutes. That's pretty unusual though, just a couple sections due to the instructor's schedule that it ends up being that way. But generally, we meet once a week for the 90 minutes. And that's again,
Okay.
we're very concerned about this isn't, your stereotypical Zoom school, like what's become a really bad word in the world in the last few years, where your kid is just kind of parked in front of a screen for 5 hours or 6 hours a day, and that's it. That's we really are concerned about an issue with online education. Inevitably, obviously, is screen saturation. So we're very
Yes.
concerned about trying to mitigate that,
Mhm.
which is why
Mhm.
classes meet weekly. And also, to kind of Sabrina's point, the vast majority, German is unusual in that the textbook is digital. And the
Yes.
reason for that is simply because that textbook was so hard to get that we needed it for the curriculum that we had, and it was becoming
Mhm.
so expensive for families
Yes.
and difficult for them to find the physical textbooks that the only way to resolve it was the not great but still okay compromise of it being totally digital, which again, there are
Mhm.
great aspects of digital textbooks, but as Sabrina pointed out, generally students learn better when the books are physical, which is why
Mhm.
we've kept that kind of hybrid model,
Mhm.
of it being that like the assignments are online and your class is online, but the reading and all of that stuff and any scratch work is done on paper and with a physical textbook for most of our classes. So the benefit again of the live is they get that weekly interaction with the instructor and their students, as Sabrina mentioned, with their classmates. They get to know their classmates, and that's just a lot harder to bring in an asynchronous program. So we
Mhm.
chose that, again, as these courses are meant to be a way to kind of serve the homeschooling community with these online classes, that this was the best way that we could do that, was with the live teacher, and the ability to have community with your classmates.
Yes, that and all that you just said is exactly what I experienced as a homeschooling mom with students enrolled in online, is that all of my students always prefer the live class option.
Mm-hmm.
And the ones that had the asynchronous, they had to be really diligent about
Mm-hmm.
keeping up with the work. It's something about
Mm-hmm.
having that regular live class every week
Exactly.
that
Yeah.
disciplines them and schedules them in a way that they just follow
Yes.
the, next week I have class at this time, I have class at this
Yes.
time. And so versus, me saying, okay, did you get your work done? And it just kind of seems like a little nebulous. So I know it can work. That's not speaking against asynchronous. There's some great opportunities that are,
Mm-hmm.
but just some considerations and some of my personal experience with our students. So I definitely hear what you just mentioned, Monica. So, real quickly, I'm looking at our time. Oh, and I see my dear friend Candace Gentry from Fredericksburg. Hey, Candace. So, one of the adjustments for me as a homeschooling mom, and this is for Sabrina, is that I was like, oh, I don't really want to relinquish my role. I want to be the teacher, but reality and having either high schoolers, there was always like there was a baby, a baby, elementary, middle, high, and God was blessing, and I'm thankful, but it was busy. So sometimes eventually I realized I just need a little bit of assistance, and it benefited my students. We'll talk a little bit in the next. I'll mention some of the benefits for that. But what was that like for you? Just a few seconds of if you can just kind of answer that. So
Oh. Well, just really, really quickly, knowing that it was a subject that I couldn't teach
yeah,
really, really helped.
that took
Um,
care of that,
yeah,
right?
so I took care of that. So kind of losing control over the time management
Yeah.
was the hard over the scheduling was the harder part for me adjusting. The bigger adjustment was for my son. In those
Okay.
elementary years, we're always like, you move at the student's pace. And now suddenly we're at
Yeah.
high school and
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking forward college. He's got to start learning
Mm-hmm.
to learn at the students or at the teacher's pace, at someone
Yeah.
else's schedule. And that has been the hard part for him.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm. Mhm.
and I can talk more another time about how that all worked out because
Mhm.
HSLDA has of course, the student academic integrity policy that we had to sign, which my son took very, very seriously, which I'm very proud of him for that. But and a lot about students need to learn to be independent, work on their own. It needs to be their work. But he was sinking at the beginning, and I'm like, I've got to step in and help him learn how to study and get into this. So I looked at myself as a study partner, trying to help him get his feet under him. And he's like, but Mom, this is cheating. I have to do this all by myself. I can't have help. And so then we had to have conversations about, if you were in a high school, in a classroom, you wouldn't be doing this on your own. You'd have your classmates, you'd be studying together, you'd be discussing it together.
Yeah.
That's what that's where I'm filling in for you.
Yeah, that's what you were functioning as, right?
Yeah. And so it took him a little time to wrap around that. But I'll say in the last 2 months, I think I've helped a lot less. He's got his feet under him, and it's going a lot better now.
Oh, that's good. That's good. That's good. I appreciate that. Yes. So I have a few things, and we still have a little bit of time. So one of the many benefits for my family was with online learning was the fact that outside instructors made excellent resources for college and scholarship recommendations. So, of course, we know the student has to do well in the class, and this doesn't always mean receiving an A. It actually, other things are important. Other things those instructors look at, as well as the student doing it well academically, is are they actually showing up on time? Are they attending class regularly? Are they being accountable with their work? Are they participating? Those are other things. And the benefit can be, like I said, when your student is applying for any other opportunity after high school, those instructors can often serve as excellent recommenders rather, and excellent referrals. And you will see as you get close to that senior year, when it's time to do college applications, having a list of people that your student can reach out to and feel confident that that person will give them a great recommendation, it becomes really crucial. So, Monica, can you speak to other aspects of success, like in an online course, such as attending regularly on time? Anything else that you can think of?
Yeah. So something else that Sabrina kind of touched on this a little bit, but the time management is something that we learn that students really like. So I was homeschooled for all 12 grades.
Okay, I didn't know.
Yeah. I should have mentioned that in the beginning. For all 12 grades, and before online education was really available. So that ability to kind of but homeschooling in particular in college was very helpful for like learning how to be a college student, because a lot of it is you have to be very self-directed with that. So that's something that I think online education can kind of offer if you don't have the opportunity to take college classes in high school, or maybe you don't want your student to take college classes in high school. They can get that they learn how to be self-directed. So college is a lot less scary. By the time I got to college, it was harder, obviously, because I was taking 5 classes at one time, but it felt very much like homeschooling. So that's something that's kind of great. That self-directed push, I think, is something that can really be offered there. And I also think that it can give your student an opportunity to learn different things than what you would at home. So this is kind of where electives can be really great, because obviously mom maybe knows that she's going to want to teach like the math and the science and all that. But we also have a Dale Carnegie communication course. That's an elective.
I did see that. I'm planning
and
to
they're
enroll.
obviously I know, right? It's a very celebrated communications curriculum that most students who go to, public schools may not have access to, or many students at least. So that's the kind of thing that you can be kind of like, okay, well, I think I want my student to be able to learn the kind of skills in communication from this very well-known communication curriculum provider that's been doing this for, decades. So I think that it gives you really have a lot of interesting options there that you wouldn't at home, or maybe just don't have in your community. And that can be really enriching for students. They can try different things and that kind of stuff. And I think specifically at HSLD, we have a very specific curricular philosophy that works really well with many homeschooling programs, so that your online education doesn't become your education. It just kind of helps to kind of form the whole. So that's something specifically that I think our classes can offer. But hopefully whatever curriculum provider you pick has something like that, so that they're not, the goal is never that your online education takes over your homeschool. It's that it's a part of your homeschool. So I would just encourage families to look for a provider that sees themselves that way.
Right. That makes so much sense. Definitely. I appreciate that. I'm going to skip over a few questions. I do want everyone that's coming in, again, if you're just coming in, say where you are joining us from, and continue to put questions in the chat. We're gonna make sure we get through and be able to take a look at some of those questions. I see my friend Gina Payton is here too. So that's awesome. Hi, Gina. So we're going to go ahead and move along. I want to give some additional resources for online learning. There is for excellent writing instruction. And again, these are recommendations just from personal experience or, just as an educational consultant. This is not necessarily it's endorsed per se by HSLDA or not endorsed, but they are great instructions. Many homeschoolers have found them to be helpful. So for excellent writing instruction, sorry, we're going to put Learn for College is collegiate learning. So that would be one. And I think the links will continue to be put in the comments. Time for Learning, that has a monthly subscription, but many of our families have said they love that one. Easy Peasy All in One, that one is free. Schoolhouse Teachers, they are the organization that is the Schoolhouse magazine, the old Schoolhouse magazine. So they have a program, Schoolhouse Teachers. It's a low annual cost for an entire family, so one fee for an entire family. And then in terms of secular options, because I did mention that, and I know some of our members are looking for that, Deborah Bell has one that's called AIM. It's capital AIM, AIM Academy. So that's great. A full like high school and I think possibly middle school. I need to refresh my memory on that one. Think Well, that's one word, Think Well. They have online high school courses. They even have math courses for 6th to 8th grade. And they offer something called AP compatible courses. So just check into that because, again, it's AP compatible. That means it probably meets all of the AP requirements, but it hasn't been pre-approved by the College Board. So then that means that your student will probably get everything they need in that class to be adequately prepared for the exam. But again, when you're talking about transcripts, you will not be able to put that on the transcript, but you could call it honors. So, and if you have questions as an educational consultant, you can reach out to myself. We have a slew of educational consultants from pre-K all the way up to 12th for high school, rather, and special needs consultants. So definitely, if you're a member of HSLDA, that's one of your benefits. And we don't keep track of how often you call or how many times you reach out. So don't feel we're there as like guidance counselors, basically. Another one is the virtual homeschool group. They offer free live courses and they also have at your own pace courses, AYOP. So that is an option. They are free if you volunteer. So you may need to volunteer to actually teach a class, to help construct a class in terms of establishing a syllabus. There's a lot of options to volunteer with the virtual homeschool group. And then DOD or DODEA virtual, which Sabrina mentioned about that option. And then Khan Academy, which I think many of us know about, but if you don't, that's a great resource. And finally, I know we're giving a list and they're popping up there in the chat. So you all, the viewers, have a lot of links there. And again, these are just a few. There are so many, right? But I was recently contacted by NIMSI, which is the National Math and Science Initiative. There is a DOD funded DOD funded grant to provide AP STEM classes for free to military connected homeschoolers. So if you're interested in knowing more about that, you can reach out to me at military at hslda.org. So I think we've covered a whole lot. I know we have covered a whole lot. I want to go ahead and take a little bit of time to, oh, and also finally, not to forget, on our HSLDA website, we have an article on online co op tutorial. It's like which high school courses are right for your teen. So definitely refer to that article on our website. And then, like I mentioned, reach out to us in consulting if you have particular questions. So I want to give time to go over some questions here. Let's see. Let's see what we have. I'm going to begin to, and Monica, if you're able to, and Sabrina, if you want to scroll to the top of the chat, we can kind of see. I see so many people have come in. Thank you all for coming in. And again, please share this, even if you're watching later the replay, that would be great. We want to reach as many of our military homeschooling families as possible. So I did say hello to everybody except for JC Spader from Virginia. And I see Casey or Cassie Bowles says, what age ranges do they have classes for? So for the academy, Monica referenced that, and the link to the academy was posted right under your question, Casey Bowles. The link for the academy, academy.hslda.org. So it's there. So you can actually, primarily high school, but I believe, Monica, you said there's one class for
There's
middle?
a couple for middle school. So we
Okay.
have middle school creative writing, that's 6th and 7th, pre-algebra, which has 7th and up, and foundations in writing, which is 8th.
Okay.
It's worth just mentioning those are recommended grade levels because,
Mhm.
again, to allow for people who, student is really, really great at math, and so they're in 9th grade but taking 11th grade math.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
recommend that this is the level it will be at, but if your student is capable of more than that, you're welcome to enroll them.
Awesome. Awesome. That's clear. That's clear. What else do I see? JC Spader says, is HSLDA looking to add, okay, and you addressed this one, looking to add elementary and more middle school. So she answered that already, JC. What else? What other questions? Scrolling. Oh, JC says, how are the labs handled for AP science courses? Curious, as I previously taught AP biology.
So we don't have, I assume this is about HSLDA's Academy. We
I
don't
I would
have,
think so, but
yeah,
yeah,
we,
it doesn't
we
say.
don't have AP science for us. We do
Okay.
have, our science classes do have a lab though.
Okay.
And so basically the way that they're structured is there is an optional lab kit you can buy, but most of the experiments can be done at home with different things that we recommend from the home. So basically that's it's not done during class. Students do it. They can obviously ask the teacher for assistance if they need it, but they do those on their own outside time. And most, I believe, some of them are optional, again, because of the constraints that can be done with online learning.
Got it. Got it. I know that that's a good question. I haven't had a student personally do an AP science course. My children have not been science and math. They've been more of the language arts and the history and the literature side. But I would imagine, JC, that with whatever the AP course, it would list the equipment and the supplies that would be needed for the particular labs. There are several homeschool science tools. I believe it's one company that has a lot of prepackaged labs. So you can definitely, the resources are there. So Gina says, and Gina has a great question, which we did this for our children in studying and learning overseas and here in the US too, definitely. How about discussing the real education our military kids get from traveling the world, the US, and experiencing the cultures and local education in many areas? They can gain wonderful character and confidence from the adventures around the world while learning online. So I know that that's been my experience, and for our students, overseas, for example, and like I said, even here as a military family always on the move, there's so many opportunities to experience so many different states and countries, and they are also different, and exposure to cultures. And so you can take an online history or literature class, just as an example. Online art class would be another idea. And then maybe, for example, like we were in Italy. I mean, gosh, like history and art is, you look out and you see it's all around you. So many opportunities for that. So I really appreciate you, Gina, for bringing that up to as a statement, because that is so correct. JC says Excelsior classes is another excellent a la carte option for live homeschool classes. Thanks for that, JC. Thank you so much. And then we have some more links there. Let me see. Are there any other questions that have come up? Jess says, I love this. Yeah, we're happy. Thank you that you love this. I have a rising sixth grader. So, yeah, you're beginning to think, right, about what's next when that rising sixth grader becomes, for example, an eighth grader, ninth grader. For eighth grade, in the arenas of math, science, and foreign language, high school level classes in math, science, and foreign language, those can be put on a high school transcript, just those subject areas. That is what you can do. So definitely, if you have a student that's taking high school at that level in eighth grade, then you can be confident to be able to put that on under ninth grade for their transcript. Let's see what else here do we see. Oh, Gina says, and incorporating that into HSLD online will help for us to write those course descriptions. I think I missed something. I missed the beginning part of, Gina, your statement. But with the course description specifically, reach out to us as educational consultants. We won't write them for you, but we definitely will review them, and we will help you make sure that it looks like you have enough information there. I know with the NCAA, that's one arena where we will help. And so that's important. Sabrina, you
Natalie?
wanted to say, yes, go
Yeah,
ahead.
I think Gina was following that up with her comments about world travel.
Oh,
Very
okay, and incorporating that into online with help for this. Okay, then that would still be reach out to us as educational consultants, because I did that with a European history course, definitely with my son. So there are so many ways to adequately um, meet certain requirements and be able to put that into a course description. So thanks, Sabrina. I was trying to track it and I wasn't. So thank you. And then Lily says, do they offer art classes? So I would think that that might be to you, Monica. I think Lily's
Yeah,
asking
no,
that.
we don't at this point. We don't have any art classes. We do have a music appreciation class if you're looking
Okay.
for a fine arts class, but no art at this point.
Okay. Okay. So I think our time has come to a close. I want to say thanks everybody for joining us. Thanks for all your questions. So if you have any military related homeschooling topics that you want to see maybe discussed on a future live, please put them there, or you can reach out to me again at military@hslda.org. Do you have any final words, Sabrina and Monica? We got just a few seconds. Any final words that you would like to say?
No, just thank you for doing this. I always appreciate the feedback. I learn as much as I share.
Oh, that's good. I do too. I really do too. And Monica, did you
Yeah,
have anything?
yeah, pretty much this the same. And if feel free to reach out to anybody at the academy if you have any additional questions, specifically, obviously, about our program. If you want to do like how to integrate things, the consultants are your best people for that. But if you want to go to our program, you're always welcome to email us at academy@hslda.org. We love hearing from our families.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So we've just, what is it called? The tip of the iceberg. We've just touched on the tip of the iceberg with this whole idea of online learning. So we could keep talking about it. So I hope, like I said, that it was informative. And so as military homeschool families, we face certain unique challenges. We can often feel disconnected and sometimes a little bit forgotten. So here at HSLDA, we're working really hard to make sure that doesn't happen, that you find connection and encouragement. One of the ways is we maintain a growing list of homeschool support groups, including overseas military ones, state and local. but I want to get more of our military homeschool groups listed in our group directory. So please, if you are a leader of a military homeschool support group, again, please reach out to me directly. The process is free, it's easy, and it's a benefit to your members for specific reasons. I would love to share those reasons with you. Also, HSLDA members also have access to our great legal team and, of course, the consultants, like I've mentioned, that can help military families like yours through questions and challenges that come up in your homeschooling, either stateside or OCONUS or overseas, as some may not know what I mean with OCONUS. So if you're not already a member, we would love for you to join us. Find out more at hslda.org/military discount. If you are a military family, that is the link to actually join hslda.org/military discount. So again, thank you so much, Sabrina and Monica, for joining us. Thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful day.
Bye.
Right.